Yeah, so greetings, comrades. Revolutionary greetings to all of you from wherever you are, those who are joining us virtually, those who will be watching this on the YouTube, and those who are present with us today. It's a pleasure to have you again this week and for us to continue discussing the philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah for decolonizing Africa, which is Confucianism. Confucianism is the philosophy and ideology that is aiming at total liberation of Africa, total unification of Africa, and total development of Africa. So we as a consciousness class, we've been meeting for the last almost 2 years to 3, but there's a group who started actually reading and meeting, discuss this book for the last over 10 years ago. So we meet every Thursdays and we read, make a paragraph or two, and we share our thinking in regards to that. This is a philosophical book, it's not a storybook, which you can read as much as you want, but this is a philosophical book, which each text or each sentence or each paragraph carry heavy text that need to take time for us to listen, understand, then think critically. What we do in our class, we share our thinking. So we help each other to build critical thinking and then actually raise our consciousness in order to understand how we relate philosophy to practical issues that go on or going on within our continent or our environment, with the purpose that by critically understanding and critically sharing our thinking, we can be able to arrive at liberation of our people or of Africa and even development of our continent, together the unification of our people. So thank you very much once again. And today we will go and proceed with our readings as usual. In our last class, we were checking on some, what I will call the conditions for a revolution. And yes, you can remember we were discussing about the existence of social circumstances and the content of consciousness of the people, the masses. And that it was very clear that both social circumstances and content of consciousness are not one-sided, which means it will not always be usual that both consciousness and social circumstances will exist at once. As they say, for the circumstances can be changed by a revolution, and revolutions are brought by men, and we say men and women in this particular place, and only men who think and act as men of action, and act also as men of thought. This brings also us to understanding that there can be, yes, men and women, but are they men and women who think as men and women of action? Or are they just men and women who just think, but not think for action? And that's why in chapter, I think the next chapter, chapter 4, we are looking at thought and action. And if you check, our motto as a class is thought and action, because we believe that there's a need for thought, and those thoughts must be accompanied by action. So this is what we actually studied last time, including the need for a solid ideological basis in order to actualize the revolution. And then we went a bit to discuss the aspects of revolution, which is either going against the old order and it's for a contest for a new order. And this is very something practical in what you even see in Kenya today, where the new generation are trying to fight for a new order, but the older generation are trying to maintain the old order. And that actually brings the two faces of revolution. So the revolution has those two faces. One is revolting against the old, and another one is a contest for a new order. So all this is what we studied last time. And yes, we also talk about the aspect that it is not a mere conceptual refutation, that revolution, our revolutionary ideology is not merely negative. The ideology of revolution is not merely negative, and it is not mere conceptual refutation of a dying social order, but it is a positive, creative theory. It is the guiding light of the emerging social order. And as it was said, this was confined in the book, in the letter quoted by Hegel in the motto of this page. I think before we go to the paragraph that starts today from not only, it will be very important for us to examine this second paragraph once again. This one starting the revolution into aspect, and I'll take us back directly to the letter by ages that we also have to read and try to see how we connect them before we move forward. Yes, members present, how do you think about that?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, and then, as usual, we ask our members to for us. Officer Tapua.
Yes.
I request you to read for us the paragraph starting the revolution has two aspects until the end of it, and then we'll go to letter by Aegis. I know this is what we discussed in the last class, but we discussed it almost halfly, not fully. So let's read it, and then we go to the letter, we read the letter, and then we connect the two concepts together.
All right. Right. Revolution has two aspects. Revolution is a revolution against an old order, and it is also a contest for a new order. The Marxist emphasis on the determining force of the material circumstances of life is correct. But I would like also to give great emphasis to the determining power of ideology. A revolutionary ideology is not merely negative. It is not a mere conceptual refutation of a dying social order, but a positive creative theory, the guiding light of the emerging social order. This is confirmed by the letter from Engels, quoted in the motto page of this book.
Thank you. Let me reread it again. They say that revolution has two aspects. Revolution is a revolution against an old order. For those members who have joined us, you are reading this paragraph. Permit me to highlight it for you so that you can get the paragraph you are reading. Let me do the highlight. And welcome both Dr. Masha and Sister Myra. As it is appearing here, this is a sister's class. The gentlemen have walked away from the revolution. So revolution has two aspects. Revolution is a revolution against an old order. That's the first aspect. And it is also a contest for a new order. The Marxists emphasize on the determining force of the material circumstance of life is correct. But I would like also to give great emphasis to the determining power of ideology. The person speaking here is Kwame Nkrumah, because this is the book written by Kwame Nkrumah. She's trying to give great emphasis on the determining power of ideology. And this says, a revolutionary ideology is not merely negative. It is not mere conceptual refutation of a dying social order, but a positive creative theory, the guiding light of the emerging social order. This is confirmed by the letter from Hegel quoted on the motto of this page. So that's our reading today. But let me take us to the letter that is referred here so that we read it as well and try to connect this together. So if you go to the letter written by Hegel, is a very brief letter at the start of our class of this book. The letter is, let me get to the letter. This is the letter. So let's also read this letter to understand, because it says it refers to this letter in big extent. So let's read this letter and try to understand it as well. Yes. So, yes, Sister Kapua, just proceed and read for us this letter as well. If you can see it, if you cannot see it, let me know. Sister Tapua?
Oh, I'd forgotten to put my speaker on. Right. According to the materialistic conception of history, the ultimately determining element in history is the production and reproduction of real life. More than this, neither Marx nor I have ever asserted. Hence, if somebody twists this into saying that the economic element is the only determining one, he transforms that proposition into a meaningless, abstract, senseless phrase. Marx and I are ourselves partly to blame for the fact that the younger people sometimes lay more stress on the economic side than is due to it. We had to emphasize the main principle vis-a-vis our adversaries who denied it, and we had not always the time, the place, or the opportunity to allow the other elements involved in the interaction to come into their rights. But when it was a case of presenting a section of history, that is, of a particular application, it was a different matter. Sorry?
Is that of a practical application?
Yes, of a practical application. It was a different matter, and there no error was possible. Unfortunately, however, it happens only too often that people think they have fully understood a new theory and can apply it without more ado from the moment they have mastered its main principles, and even those not always correctly. And I cannot exempt many of the more recent Marxists from this reproach, for the most amazing rubbish has been produced in this chapter too.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So this is the letter that's being referred by Kwame Nkrumah in our paragraph today that we are reading. So let's get back to our paragraph today, and then we share our thinking. We had discussed this paragraph in our last class, but I wanted to give it more emphasis, just a bit linking this paragraph, and let's give our context to the last paragraph. Because you see, Nkrumah ends this paragraph with the last statement saying that this is confirmed by the letter from Engels quoted on the motto page of this book. And most of us were not present when we did that reading. So this is a moment where it's being reflected back. So I know we did this, but let's reshare this, our thinking in this text, and we can link it to the paragraph above. So I will be able to share the above paragraph and this paragraph. So if I call on you, you can share on this paragraph here. And if you want to refer something in the next paragraph of the motto, I can also bring the page online so that you can share something in regards to that. Yes, so let me check on my list. We start with Sister Tapo, we'll start with you. Having read it, we'll start with you.
Yes. What's caught my eye today is the Marxist emphasis on the determining force of the material circumstances of life is correct. In other words, he's saying revolution will take place if material circumstances of life are ripe for revolution. But I like the contrast that he says. He says, okay, people might be poor, people might be fighting against taxes, but for the revolution to be effective, there's got to be a guiding light. There's got to be the ideology that guides the young people's thinking towards what should be. And I think that's striking for me. It's also making me think how much of light is out there that's going to guide our young people. I hope we've done enough, and we still need to do some more work in terms of making sure that we have the ideological light. That's all.
Do you have to comment anything on the letter? I can project the letter, you share your thinking. If you think that there's something you can share from the letter. Sister Tapua?
Yes, I can. I would like to make a comment on the letter.
Yes, the letter.
Thank you. I like the fact that the letter points out the dangers of thinking you've understood the theory when you've only partly understood it. And I think that's me. Because as I'm learning and I'm trying to see, because history doesn't wait for you to know before events take place. So we've got situations that are developing around us, and yet we don't quite feel conversant with the theory. But life has to go on, and that's the challenge. So we really need to make sure we up our pace in terms of learning what the theory is and the things that we need to look out for. That's all.
Thank you. Let's get to the next person. I read your name. I'll come with that order. Dr. No. Oh, Raspala. Comrade Raspala, you are second here. Yes, comrade.
Hey, General Solomon, I'll just answer a bit later, maybe after 5 or so. I'm just busy with something here while listening.
Okay. Sister Myra?
Brother Pigeon, I'm just catching up, so I'll listen for a while more.
Okay, Sister Nancy?
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to make a quick comment on the paragraph itself, because I think as a political activist, I've fallen into the trap of pointing out the things that are wrong, and bad with a particular systems like capitalism or like colonialism, imperialism, those kinds of things. But this is reflective in our daily lives. We know what's wrong. But if we're not able to communicate a vision of what it is we're trying to create, in addition to what we're trying to destroy, then it's very difficult, I think, sometimes for people to have hope. And it almost sounds like we're complaining. So in the letter, I mean, I hadn't really honestly gone back to the letter when I read this paragraph. But just listening to it again today, I think Ingalls is pointing out the importance of economics, certainly as a mechanism for analyzing social conditions. But I think the point is it's not the only element. It's he says that the economic element is not the only determining one. And I think we have to be mindful of the big picture, basically. So when we communicate with people, it's important to talk about what we're trying to destroy, but it's more probably important to talk about what we're seeking to build. And the last comment is, just in terms of the philosophical aspect of this, and I guess we talked about this last time. Thales created a condition, I think, or an understanding of being able to transform society, devoid of I guess more mythological explanations, and rather to be able to depend on rational inquiry, and that's important. Is an important transition. It provides a framework for approaching the transformation of society, in more evidence-based reasoning, more critical reflection, more inclusive dialogue, and other considerations, rather than I guess the way that the world was explained prior to these kinds of explanations and inquiries. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Nancy. Sister Ida?
I'm afraid I don't think I have anything as yet to say, but I hope to in a bit later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are gender balanced. We are two-third gender. A third is the males here, two-third is the females here. So these are a well-balanced class. DJ Mr. P?
Yes, my brother. Peace and Pan-Africanism to you and to all on the call. I came a little late tonight. My apologies. So I'm still catching up at the moment. So I'll pass for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Masha, welcome. I know you've been.
Hi, good afternoon. Just listening to the class. I'm preparing for my class later this evening. I teach a class on protests, movements, and revolutions. But just to say that the thing that is always, well, after having been an activist for what, 24 years now, and seeing how much things still remain the same, sorry. I think that one of the things that we need to start to highlight more in social justice is personal change. So education is important, and I think that's why, you know, a space like this is forever valuable. And the question also has to be, after this education, like we come, we learn, and then what? And I think that the importance of change at the personal level, right? This idea that the revolution begins with each and every one of us, that even as we talk about capitalism, even as we signal the problems, to pick up from where the sister left off, if we continue to signal those problems and live within a capitalist system, then I think that is complaining. But if we call out those problems and then do everything in our lives, in our personal lives, to act in a minimalist way, to shop against the grain of capitalism, to do all that we can to make sure that we're no longer supporting that order, then I think that's what change looks like. And it is always confusing to me how little people want to change at the individual level. They seem to think that there's some magic wand that we as activists have that will change the world without their involvement. And that just doesn't work like that. The other thing that I will kind of reflect on at this point is we talk about revolutions in the contemporary movement as very disconnected from radicals and radicalism. So radicals and radicalism remain bad words, right? They're not sanitary, they're not diplomatic, all the things. But yet we want revolutions. And especially us as the Black community, wherever you go, whether it's Barbados, where I've done most of my work, whether it's Canada, the States, we still allow outsiders to pick off our radicals, to kill them, to harm them emotionally and mentally. And then we keep wondering why our revolution continues to fail. Revolutions won't happen without radicals. And radicalism is not meant to be comfortable, and it's not meant to be sanitary. So even as I, read the paragraph around revolutions and what the aim of revolutions is and that kind of thing, we have to be clear that it is disruption. It is disruption and it is disruptive. And there are many of us, again, who are not comfortable with that at the personal level.
Hello? Can you hear me? I can't hear Dr. Masha.
Oh, no, sorry. I rest there. I feel like I was going on for a bit, so I rest there.
Okay, sorry, I had a technical issue. I think my internet switched off, so I had to switch to another data plan. DJ Mr. P, I see you in this app. Sorry a bit for that.
Yes, brother, thank you. I just want to respond to Dr. Marsha. Thank you for saying what you said, because I've been saying this for over 10 years. And that is, if we are very serious and we truly want change, then we have to change first. We have to change first on an individual level. I've been saying, I remember the first time I came on this call last year, that's what I said, and I'm going to repeat it. If we want things to change, we got to change first. And one of the things that we do that contradicts, I find very hypocritical, is we talk about all this revolution, we talk about all this change, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but you're using the same mindset that you had prior to the situation you were in, which means ain't nothing going to change, right? You've got to come with a fresh mindset. And for me, I really believe the way forward is personal development. Unless we are prepared to look at that image that we see in the mirror and deal directly with that image, get into a street fight with that image, embrace and love that image, ain't nothing going to change. Because at the crux of all of this talk and hot air and gas, the bottom line, sorry, I've just got a whole heap of things going on at the moment. The bottom line is, for me, the crux of the root cause of our problems. It's not the white man, it's not the Chinese man, it's not the Asian man, the Indian man. No. We are perpetuating our own problems, and that, I believe, is being caused by self-hate. If we can deal with and overcome the self-hate that we have for ourselves and each other, then we're actually one step forwards in this revolution. Okay, a lack of self-love is causing causing what we say, how we think, and what we do on a daily basis, and how we respond to situations. So I think it's really key. The real changes are going to come when we decide to deal with ourselves on an individual level. So again, Dr. Marsha, I'm really glad you said what you said. I know you started me off on one. I'm on my little soapbox, but I've been saying this, and until we can actually work on ourselves, I cannot see anything changing.
Okay.
I'll rest it there.
Thank you, DJ Mr. P. Thank you, DJ Mr. P, because there are two texts here in this letter from Egels, which I also want you to think of it as we continue this. One is where he says that Marx and I are ourselves partly to blame for the fact that the younger people sometimes lay more stress on the economic side than it is due to it. And people have been talking much of, yes, whether we need to have a lot of money for us to make the changes. Yeah, we need to have economy running for us to be successful, to liberate or unite or develop Africa. And he points that the younger generation has been laying much stress on economic than it's due. I don't know what that means, but there's the last aspect also where it says that, unfortunately, however, it happens only too often that people think they have fully understood a new theory and can apply it without more ado from the moment they have mastered its main principles, and even those not always correctly. So these two aspects is like a guiding aspect to us. But he also says, but when it was a case of presenting a section of history, which is very important, that is of a practical application, it was a different matter, and there no error was possible. So these are a few things that as we move along, we need to also to put into consideration to them as we try to build and understand how we move along, all along. So let's get to other members who haven't shared their thinking. I see Sister Chisomo is here. I think she's joined just some few minutes ago. But if she can be able to share, I think Sister Chisomo...
She can't talk. She can't talk, brother. She posted a message in the chat saying she can't talk.
Okay, then we'll proceed to the next paragraph and then bring in other members who have joined currently to also share their thinking in the next paragraph. and also the letter from Egels. The letter from Egels, we discussed it in our previous paragraphs, in our previous classes, but you can refer to it as it has been referred in this paragraph. So let's proceed to the next paragraph. From my thinking, as I've shared those two aspects from what Nkrumah says about laying more emphasis on economics and also thinking that we understand the situation, because this lays serious emphasis to us as revolutionaries. Many revolutionaries today are at the stage of we want to act. But remember in the previous paragraph, Nkrumah even emphasized the need to understand social circumstances and the level of consciousness that then must be backed up with a solid ideological basis. But that might be what is lacking. Yes, everybody knows that you want to change, you want to make this and this. Yes, we know the problem of Africa, so let's keep moving, let's fix it. Do we really understand the real problem? Because I'll give you a practical example like what's going on in Kenya today, where people are going to an exam saying, we need to get Ruto out, Ruto must go. I really also want him to go. But in this process that we do it, do we really understand what is the problem of Kenya beyond Ruto? Because it's not only the problem. We have to go to exam to look at even the West. We have to look at even internal playing situation of the economics class, the oligarchs, the business community, the so-called deep states who are in here. And in the process that we may take the message and remove or overthrow Ruto. That would basically, but the real players behind will still be left. And what happens is that the players will replace Ruto with another chess, and the situation will remain the same. And this is what has happened in several situations in Africa. Like, for example, what happened, I think, in Zimbabwe or in Sudan, where you realize that the people of Zimbabwe went ahead to remove Mugabe. But who came in? Mnangagwa. Who is he? Still the system, or the errand boy of the system. But because the people did not understand deeply what is the problem, they thought they have understood it, and they did it. Look at what happened in Sudan. We removed Bashir. But what happened? The same people in the higher class of leadership or the power still captured it. The people never got it. And this has happened in several countries all along, you see? So there is a serious need for the people to understand fully the real problem in order to clearly act for the benefit of the revolution. That's what I want to share in regards to what I understand here. Because it says the revolution is revolt against the old order. How many people are still ready to stick with the old order? Many people want to hold on their old order. The people who loot in the government, the people who make tender deals or wrong deals in the government still want to maintain that order. And the revolution must be against that old order. The old order that is oppressive, the old order that favors some few people must be dealt with. But as we do away with the old order, there must be also a contest for a new order. There's no clear path of what is the new best order, but there is always a contest on the new order. So yes, today where we are, would we agree? Do we have a common direction of a way forward of what a new order look like for Africa? We don't have the same common, because other people think economically Africa should go this and this and this way. Some people think this and this and this should take place. And this their thinking then is spread whether they are progressive, they are liberals, or they are conservatives. So these are the basic tenets of revolution. Like in Kenya today, when Ruto went for president in 2022, he was saying that we are fighting against dynasty, the rich class. So it was about fighting the rich class that was appearing to have captured the power for a period of time. And the poor class wanted to do that. And the poor class decided to come in and remove the rich class. But in reality, the people did not understand that Ruto himself was also part of the rich class. So that failure to fully grasp and understand the situation has always led us to blindly act. And that action has never led us to something successful in long term. So that is what I'm trying to read from this text and even the text that came before in the letter from Engels. Sister Ida? Before we go to the next paragraph.
Pigeon, oh, well, maybe we should go to the next paragraph. But what I feel is quite often failing, which I had hoped we would have in these sort of classes, the Thursday and the Saturday in discussion, what we discuss sort of thing, even if we're discussing the book. I think half the time people's ideas aren't listened to because there isn't really anywhere for them to really have a chat about it and talk about it and put their ideas forward. I mean, even with what is going on in Kenya, you'll find that a lot of the groups that are chatting, there's always somebody who's there to silence that group or to silence what someone is saying. You know, admins will remove things or do things. And I think that's also part of the reason why the revolution half the time succeeds so far. And then it's put back. It's like listening to what Brother Mr. P was saying about, I can't quite remember his exact words, but that, you know, he's been saying the same thing for the last 10 years. And it's like, there's not always a way to express what you're saying. I know he has a radio news channel so he can talk to his people. But I think that a lot of the people, like the young people in Kenya who are talking, they're having to talk on something like TikTok or whatever, because people either open up their TikTok and watch it or they won't. But it, you know, and it's not like somebody can not dilute it, can get rid of it. It's there. So I think sometimes some of the conversations that people want to have are stifled. At least that's something I think should also be discussed. Thank you. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ida. That's really a key issue because you see, by either sharing consciously or unconsciously, you build something. You were able to learn. You are able to understand by just sharing. Because out of your sharing, there's a reaction from somebody that makes you, like how we do in this class. Somebody is freely sharing their thinking. And the process of you sharing your thinking, you realize there's something you can learn from another person's thinking, you see? And that is the only way you can build up. If you don't share, then how can you build up? That is very important. And I know there have been so many, I've seen up many platforms on Pan-Africans, people stop some of the informations, some other links, some other things. I've seen so many of them. DJ Mr. P will tell you so many times he sends his message. Some people even block the messages, some people even delete them down. They don't even want to understand the message, you see? Because by understanding, just getting to that message, how you conceive it, how you think about it, how you build your thinking about it, is what is very important. And in that way, you help to build yourself and build your critical thinking. So yes, Sister Ida, I understand that and I accept it. It's a challenge that we must face. But let's proceed with our paragraph. We go to the second paragraph. I've tied it from the word not only. So welcome to those who are joining us. Let's continue sharing our thinking and our reading today. Sister Myra?
Sorry, Brother Pigeon, I'm still listening.
Are you able to read for us the second paragraph?
Oh, sorry. Is that the one starting from not only?
Yes, not only.
No. Not only is it significant that Thales should have chosen water as the fundamental substance, but the fact that he maintained at all that everything was derived from one and the same substance was of great importance. For by maintaining this, he was implying the fundamental identity of man as well. Man, according to him, being not half natural, half supernatural, but wholly natural. That is to say, on the social plane, his metaphysical principle amounted to an assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of men. Nevertheless, his philosophy only supported a revolution, which was, in a sense, bourgeois. The assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of man does not automatically issue in socialism, for it does not amount to the assertion of social equality. Indeed, Thales' specification of a form of matter as basic naturally places a premium on water, and in the social plane remains compatible with a class structure. His philosophy, therefore, only supported a sort of bourgeois democratic revolution and not a socialist one.
Thank you, Sister Myra. Let me reread it slowly as you also try to read this text with me, or I know you've been reading with Sister Myra, but let's reread it again as you try to critically understand it so that you can also share your thinking once you're done. So here we are going back to Thales' choice of water, which I'll also take you back a bit as we will read when we discuss Thales and water. So he says that not only is it significant that Thales should have chosen water as the fundamental substance, but the fact that he maintained at all that everything was derived from one and the same substance was of great importance. For by maintaining this, he was implying the fundamental identity of man as well. Man, according to him, being not half natural or half supernatural, but a wholly natural. That is to say, on the social plane, his metaphysical principle amounted to an assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of men. Nevertheless, his philosophy only supported a revolution which was, in a sense, a bourgeoisie. The assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of man does not automatically issue in socialism, for it does not amount to assertion of social equality. Indeed, Thales' specification of a form of matter as a basic natural places a premium on water, and in the social plane remain compatible with a class structure. His philosophy, therefore, only supported a sort of bourgeoisie democratic revolution and not a socialist one. Now, a bit brief of Thales and the use of water I want to give an history a bit as we try to understand this and share our thinking. And I see Dr. Masha, you are requesting for a copy of this book. I'll share it directly with you by your contact via WhatsApp once we are done with this class. So here is actually Thales. When we started this book, in the chapter 1, we dealt with the philosophy in retrospect. And this is the first time we came across Thales, when the question in that chapter was, what is our universe made up of? That was the question. And it was what there is and how what there is. So what there is that the universe is made up of and how that came to be. And therefore, at that particular moment, we came to two philosophers. The first philosopher was Berkeley, who said that the universe is made up of ideas and spirits. The second philosopher was Thales, who said that the universe is made up of matter. And in this case, he talked of water. The universe is made up of water. While other people, Berkeley said the universe is made up of spirits. Now that is, the Berkeley's position was what is called a theologian position, the theologist position, which is then defined as the idealist position. While Thales' position, which is that the universe is made up of water, is on matter, is the materialist position. So that's how we came across this. And if you remember in our previous, some chapters ago, we read deeply on Thales and the use of water. And he explained it in a society of the Greek society, how he then used the water as a fundamental in that society. So here we are coming back again. Nkrumah is coming back again to try to examine the Thales' choice of water in this paragraph. And therefore, that's the brief I can share about the past history of where we've come across, or where we've come across water and Thales. So Thales to say that there were two revolutions in our previous chapters, that the revolutions, they talked about the two revolutions. Apart from the two aspects of the revolution, if you go back a bit, here when you say the second revolution consisted in his contention that the unity of nature consisted not in its being, but in its materiality. Then the first part is the Thales first revolution, therefore knocked the bottom out of the theoretic and theocratic manifestation of Greek society. And that first position was that the nature is made up, the universe is made up of nature, this basic law being nature. So that's what he came up with in his two theologies. And this is what we've been trying to examine over a period of time. And now Nkrumah is trying to re-examine it here in this chapter. So kindly, I'll ask for you, when I call your name, kindly share your thinking in regards to what do you understand from this text? What is your thinking based on this text? What is your thinking? We do ask our thinking, not understanding. Sorry for that. What is your thinking in regards to the text? So let me go through my list. Let me start with, here is, in my list is Sister Ida. Sister Ida, you're the first, then Sister Myra, and then Sister Chisomo.
Oh dear, what do I understand? I always love when I hear equality and brotherhood of man, or he says men. But I always think that, you know, throughout the years you hear about this brotherhood of men and how it should join people. But I think that that it doesn't, he says, it says nevertheless his philosophy only supported a revolution which was in a sense vigorous, the rich people. So there's obviously something wrong, that, you know, maybe he thinks that brotherhood starts at a certain level and is for the rich, or maybe even the priest level or whatever. The assertion of this fundamental equality and brotherhood of man does not automatically issue in socialism. So you see, socialism to me is usually about the rights for all, and believing in all, whether rich or poor. So maybe there's something there that I'm not fully explaining, but I think that around there, I think it's something that I would love somebody else to highlight it and bring it out more than what I've brought out. So thank you all. Sorry, that's my best.
Thank you for sharing your thinking. That's the freedom we give you, to share your thinking. And by other people sharing your thinking, you are able also to build on your thinking. So thank you for that, your thinking. Let's go to Sister Myra. Sister Myra?
Um, I think he's trying to explain Thales' philosophy. So if Thales was said that water was the fundamental substance that maintained, and that he maintained that from which everything was derived, then by that logic, if we all came from water, then we are all equal, right? Because we are all made from the same material. But then he goes on to kind of contradict that when he says, but the fact that Thales then chose water, because there's this, if we think about all the other resources that are around us, there's water, there's wood, stone, but Thales chose water. Therefore, Thales kind of elevated water above stone, above trees. So in doing so, he classified water. He created a certain class. So water is special because it is what everything there is derived from. Anything else is beneath water. And I think that's what he's saying. Then that is not socialism, because that introduces class differences, placing emphasis or importance on one type of matter, and the other types are not as special because there's nothing that's derived from them. So I think he's trying to think through Western philosophy, and I think I'm guessing if we follow through the coming paragraphs, will lead up to the conclusions that he had drawn in the first chapter, where he says that Western philosophy always creates some solipsism. They are special, and the rest, if you're not like them, if you're not made from their matter, then you're different, or they don't understand you. So I think that's what he's trying to say, that he's trying to elucidate on Western philosophy and the divisions that it creates. Yeah, I yield. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Sister Chisomo or DJ Mr. P?
Ladies first.
Sister Chisomo, are you
sorry,
able to speak?
she can't talk, can she? Of course. Yeah,
Yes.
I'll pass. I'll pass.
Let's go to, let me read my list. Sister Nancy, then Sister Dr. Masha.
I'm sorry, did you say Nancy or Mark? I
Let's start
misunderstood.
with
I
Sister
apologize.
Nancy, and then we go to Dr. Masha.
Okay. Yeah, I think I spoke on this a bit before. I understood this proposition to be the notion that everything is reducible to water to be more symbolic than literal. But I think it's relevant because of its historic significance. So at the time that he wrote, there was, I think, that more of a kind of idealist or maybe metaphysical approach to explaining history and social change. And I think that the idea was, again, to try to promote a more materialist and rational method of explaining phenomenon, explaining history. So I think that emphasis was to look at first of all this idea of the unity in nature, but as just a very important way of explaining the transformation in history and the importance of having this approach that a natural approach to understanding how things are transformed and how things are changed, rather than an appeal to something outside of our ability to understand or to impact. So, you know, I think again, it was just a departure from a way of thinking, a philosophical belief that was dominant at that time, that mythology and religion were the explanations. And I think he was attempting to provide a different view of a different worldview. And I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Nancy. Yeah, you make me to recall what you came across, because I think there was a time Brother Kwame asked us in our previous classes why, when you are talking of the Ionian community, the Ionia, you see, Brother Kwame asks simple question: why did Thales choose water? And when he was referring to this community, if you check the yellow eyelet here, the last part which says that water, the last statement, water, the common denominator which Thales chose, fittingly reflected the Ionian dependence on its navy for its mercantilism, the growth of the navy being crucial in Ionian Mediterranean trade. This is where Thales drives the water aspect. And to this Ionian community, water was everything to them. Water is all that they depended on in their own navy and everything else. So this is how I think Thales was trying to bring this aspect of water here. And I just realized when you said it that I really thought I should be going back to that aspect. But let's hear other people also sharing their thinking. Dr. Masha?
Thanks. The piece that caught my attention here was the description of the leaders. And I think, again, you know, this is one of those perennial issues that we haven't solved. So what is very similar with what is happening in Kenya, for example, and what is happening in the Caribbean now, is that we have a set of neoliberal politicians that are not serving the people of these two countries, right? There was a time that the political leadership of Black countries and the desires of the working class of Black countries were aligned. So if I think of, again, the independence movement in the Caribbean in the 50s and the 60s, some of the protest action in the 30s that union leaders led, the agenda was controlled by the working class through politicians that were serving the working class, right? But we've moved so far away from that. We now have politicians that are serving the interests of capitalism, neoliberalism, and the West. And I think that's also one of the things that we're not talking about a lot. I think that there are ways in which this co-optation of our political movements, and I can speak more to the Caribbean, but like I said, it seems like the same thing is happening in Africa. The damage that they have done between the 50s and the 60s and the contemporary moment is deep and substantial damage. So again, I'm thinking here specifically now of the Caribbean. Those leaders coming out of the 30s, 40s, they agitated for better healthcare, better education, better access to housing, water, all these things. And then the co-optation of the neoliberals from the 70s, 80s, and onward has left such a hole in the gains that they have made. So you have the average child now in Barbados, St. Vincent, Jamaica, just name any country, who have no understanding of their history, right? Even if you want to mobilize them, you can, because they just don't have the social and political impetus to be mobilized. That obviously is different from what is happening in Kenya, because I understand that the uprisings in Kenya are led by the youth. But I think that we really have to like kind of take inventory then, is what I'm saying. if we're serious about this revolution and we understand the point that is being made about politicians, we understand the point about how the bourgeoisie sets themselves up as different so that they can co-opt resources, we have to start to make an inventory of where we are and what we need to rebuild to be able to create a revolutionary impetus. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Masha. Sister Tapua?
Thank you very much. Particularly for the Zimbabwean context and Africa in general, I think the sentence starting the assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of man does not automatically issue in socialism is so apt, because what confuses the Zimbabwe population is the fact that race is used as a card to manipulate people, to threaten people. People suffered under white rule, and each time you raise up the boogie white something, people tend to just rush and rally around people who will exploit them. So you have a brotherhood that gets Black people in Zimbabwe to, without thinking, because there is no ideological leadership, they don't quite see where they want to go or how to, they know where they want to go, but how to get there. And there's always this politician who will come up and say all sorts of things and give people all sorts of, we've got this thing about someone issuing out in the name of a political party or the disguised political party cars to these people who supported them during election, and everyone is running to sloganeer and say, I'm part of the brotherhood, so that they benefit. And it's really, really, really destroying the focus that people should have. It's a struggle to get people to focus on what really needs to happen. You're now having people whose ideas and thoughts are diverted by material things. And I think sometimes you want people to see that the fact that someone is Black does not necessarily mean they are for you, does not necessarily mean they will stand with you. And it's also the same thing that people inappropriately say we should respect our elders. Yes, we should. But when they are stealing, they should be told the truth. And we should tell them where to go if they're ill-treating everybody else. I think I'll stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Tapua. Let me get to Brother Raspala. Are you able to speak or you're still not able? Brother Raspala, can I pass?
Yes, General. Okay. No, what I can say, man, for what I'm reading, is that another issue we should check, is this issue of class in relation to what this text of Elder Kwame Nkrumah was saying. Because from what I read here, it says, it remains compatible with the class. And then again, it says in another part where I quote, where it says that, where's that place now? Oh, it says that not only is it significant that Thales should have chosen water as the fundamental substance, but the fact that he maintained it all, that everything was derived from one the same substance, was of great importance. So even from when we read that thing, remember, before I talk about glass, water in itself, in its chemical composition, we know it's two atoms of hydrogen, and then we have one oxygen. Yeah, and then when they mix, they make water. You understand? So basically, we're talking about oxygen and hydrogen there. And then the issue of glass, from my understanding in this context, is that, yeah, this thing of classism is wrong, but also we must check in the African tradition that there are classes in the African tradition, but there is no classism in a sense of what. For instance, I'll make an example from a child. When a child is born, that is a fetus, is a child. But when they come out of the womb, then the class, I would say, their class starts. Either you're going to go to the class of the male or you're going to go to the class of the female. Yeah, well, the girl or the boy. And then as you grow up, you start to go to puberty, you go to the class of the teenage male, the other one goes to the class of the teenage female. I'm talking in the African context. And then when you get older, the one gets to the class of being a man, the other one gets to the class of being a woman. You understand? Like what I'm trying to say before I close is that the issue of class, of a class structure in Africa has always been there. It's just that it has not been in the context of capitalism, where they use classism to justify, for instance, how they do when they say, no, we are democratic, but they are actually autocratic. Yeah, well. So those kind of issues, that's what I'm picking up. I'm picking up here that this issue of class here is wrong in the context of classism. But the issue of having a class structure has always been within the African tradition. That is my take here. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you very much, Raspala, for that. Brother Coco?
Good evening, comrades.
Good evening.
From my understanding is that if we pick the word bourgeois, that word bourgeois means middle class. And by saying middle class, then it introduces that structure, that class structure, which Comrade Raspal has been talking about. It excludes others. It's not socialist in nature. That's why he says not all kinds of revolutions are socialist in nature. And again, let's think about water. The water which he refers to here is what supported mostly mercantilism. And by that mercantilism, we mean trade. And if you start to think about that trade, you know who holds the sway, who are in charge of the trade. There are others who are in charge and others are employees. So because Thales emphasizes a lot on water as the key material in this case, then he's excluding all the other materials. And it's more or less the same thing as what will happen when not all men are equal. Okay, others are more equal than others. It's more or less what happened with if you read Animal Farm, that's the theme there. Is a story that we can start a revolution, all of us, with one voice, but there will always be some of those who want to take over and own that revolution. And I like what Tatua said, that there are people who look like us. There are people who look like us. And that is what they used to administer neocolonialism. Neocolonialism happens now because we have people who looked like us, talked like us, but were actually more white inside than black. And they have been continued to be used to sort of exploit Africa. It's more or less the same thing here. So what Dr. Nkrumah starts with first is to show us that materialism can be used to overthrow the theocracy, the aristocracy, or heaven certified aristocratic, bourgeois at the top. But that doesn't mean we have an equal benefit for everyone who benefits from that revolution. Hence, why it's important with the revolution to have your ideology clearly specified and knowing exactly what it is that you want. It's not only what you don't like, it's also what is it that you want in the end. You need to specify that and have ways in which to work towards that. Otherwise, we end up where we know that water is useful, but how many people have access to water? Or how many people are already benefiting from water in its form? And is water really the only primary matter? That's where we're talking about the metaphysical part of the equation. Because with materialism, there are some of those which are the primary, the being, the knowing. And this is where, if he uses just water, then what about air? What about wood? What about the land? Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Coco. I think everyone have shared their thinking. Those who are able to share their thinking. Permit me also to share my thinking before we move to the next paragraph. My key aspect starts with the first sentence. That not only is it significant for Thales should have chosen water as a fundamental substance, but the fact that he maintained that everything was derived from one and the same substance was of great importance. I think this is very important, was derived from one and same substance. That brings the equality in it, so-called social equality on it. Because this also brings deep understanding that we as human race or wherever we are from the same one substance. And we are one. This aspect that some are rich, some are poor, or female or male, we are all one. Because we come from one and same substance. And I think this aspect of trying to classify people, which is more of idealist thinking, in terms of even the powers that the priests held, that their people are more superior than others, is wrong. That there is no aspect even in a normal society where you should say that a man is more superior than a woman, an old person is more superior than a young person, and the aspect that you say that a white man or somebody with white skin is more superior than a black skin. If you actually understand that we are all derived from one and same substance, that brings the aspect of equality in terms of where we come from as a people. I think that's what touched my eyesight first. The aspect that everything was derived from one and the same substance was of great importance. Then what I also try to understand here is that when you talk about man, welcome Brother Kwame, when you talk about man, you say in the second sentence, which I'm also trying to understand, that by maintaining this, he was implying the fundamental identity of man as well. Man, according to him, being not half natural and half supernatural, but as well wholly natural. So there's that aspect that I'm also trying to understand here, wholly natural. Man is not a half natural or a half supernatural, but a wholly natural. And then when we go back to the basis, which I think we had come before that, you see, there are what we were calling categorical conversion, like different categories of matter. That even the so-called the supernatural, the so-called unknown, the spirits and whatever, they might not be supernatural, they're all natural. Just that they're in different category of either natural state that people might think that they are not that natural to them in terms of the understanding, and they call them supernatural. But in reality, they might be the same form of matter, but in different categories. to my own understanding. That's what my thinking is. And then I also try to touch on this aspect where he talks about that the class thing. I know many people have also touched on the class thing. I'm also trying to see the aspect of the class thing when he said that the assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of man does not automatically issue in socialism, or it does not amount to assertion of social equality. I'm trying to critically still understand that, even though I've not grasped it fully, but I understand the aspect people was talking of classism here. But the last part, which I also found serious here, is the Thales specification of a form of matter as a basic naturally places of premium on water, and in the social plane remains compatible with the class structure. So basically, I'm trying to understand those three aspects of equality here, the aspect of naturality, or the sense of being natural here, the nature, and the sense of also class that is coming up here, which of course still apply in the African context today, if I can say, where people don't find themselves they're all equal or all the same. As Brother Coca say, all animals are the same, but there are more animals who are more better than others, you see. All more animals are equal, but they're more equal than others. And that's what happens in our society today, where some politicians might feel, or some leaders, that they're more equal than the ordinary citizens, where they are all should be the same people. And the aspect that the text of supernatural being still used and still being dominating our society today, the so-called divine spirits or divine powers that still priesthood hold up to date, is something also I'm finding more of resonating with this text for me. But let me get to Brother Kwame before I go to him, because I know all of us have shared our thinking in these two paragraphs. I know Brother Kwame has joined now, but I am sure he's not the first time he's coming across this text, and he can be able to share his thinking. Brother Kwame, just let me know if you can. We've read the two paragraphs so far. This revolution and this one.
Yeah, there's a lot in. Which paragraphs have you read?
We reread the previous paragraph, which was revolution. We did it, but we decided to go back to it to check the letter of Egos, but now went to this paragraph of not only.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have heard the contribution of brothers and sisters here. First of all, I continue to thank you all for attending these sessions. And yeah, thank you so much. I would like to encourage you all to please show your faces. I know it's not compulsory, but the reason I show my face is that when people are watching this on YouTube, if all they see are just blank screens, it becomes, you can, if you think about it, if you are watching a discussion on YouTube and you can't see a human being, you can't see someone, it will lead to questions, you need to question yourself. So that's why I'm always ready to show my face, because then people can link the discussion to someone. As I know some of you don't want to show your faces, or for all kinds of reasons. We understand, but as many of you as can, please, for the benefit of our listeners and those who be watching our video, it's very helpful for them to link the discussions to faces. But as I said, please, it's not compulsory. I'd like to thank you all for coming. It's really helpful that you continue to attend. Sometimes you won't know the value for those who are listening. You probably will not realize the value of what you are doing now. But as Brother Pigeon will tell us, there are more people watching our videos, more than we had even anticipated when after COVID we decided to go online. So yeah, so thank you very much for continuing to come and join and share your thinking. I would say that a lot, and I know last week you discussed the two aspects of revolution, the negative aspect and the positive aspect. Unfortunately, I was unable to share a lot on that because I came in late, as usual. And today, I've also come in late. That's because there's a union matter. We are going on strike, and the decision had to be made today. So I had to be there because I don't know if you know, but I am the president of a district, and that district is a district with another district that are holding the strike actions. And as president, I had to be there. So my apologies that I was so late. On the question of trade unions, I hope you all know that for the Pan-African struggle, trade unions have always been central for. Sorry if it appears that I'm deviating from the thinking, but please now forgive me. It's important in the sense that it is trade unions that got the Manchester Conference of 1945 together, because remember, people came on the ticket of trade unions, and then they took that opportunity to meet in Manchester. And then on the ground, in the struggle for independence, again, trade unions were vital. In fact, in Ghana, the TUC was central. So I am a believer in trade unions. And as a teacher, I'm a member of a teaching union. And having said that, I was saying that the two aspects of revolution, there was so much in there and I couldn't join you. So it's as if I want to share something on that. But I had a lot of good and excellent thinking. So maybe I should just skip that.
Brother Kwame,
For today's, yes.
you might not keep that because we actually started by that chapter. So it's not that we kept it for the last class. We shared our thinking on it in this class.
Yes.
And we looked at the Thales, the Eagles letter before we moved here to this paragraph. So we've shared our thinking in both paragraphs, and you have a time to share also with the thinking in both. If that's okay with you, Brother Kwame.
Yeah, you see, I heard some of the discussion the last time I was here. Every sentence is so rich, and if I start, I'll probably just be on that paragraph. So let me go to the paragraph you read today, and go to what I think is a central point. Let's remember that this chapter is philosophy and society. And what does that mean? What it means is that Kwame Nkrumah, Sajifo, is looking at the relationship between philosophy and society. But why, you would ask? I think we should ask, why is that? Well, because every society has a philosophy. And it's out of philosophy that ideology comes. So you can't have an ideology without a philosophical basis. So sometimes you have to go past the ideology and dig at it to look at its philosophical roots. And there are only two philosophies in this world, whatever people say. You can go to a shop that sells philosophy books, or you can go to a library that has philosophy books, and you will see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of philosophy books. But at the end of the day, there's only two philosophies, and all that you are seeing can be summarized into either idealism, the philosophy of idealism on one side, or the philosophy of materialism on the other side. And that's all it is. And you can cut through the chase, if you like, to the heart of the argument. In other words, what are they saying? Are they saying that our universe is based on spirit and ideas? Or are they saying that our universe is based on matter? Now, we came to a conclusion in chapter 1, if you recall, Philosophy in Retrospect, that, and the book argued as to why we should, that we, for philosophical reasons, cannot accept idealism for pragmatic reasons, that we can only accept materialism. And we looked at why. And so this paragraph is continuing the same argument. And remember, Thales is the one that said that water is the basis. Yes.
I've highlighted that conclusion of the first chapter, the last sentence.
Yes, thank you. Our universe is a natural universe. Its basis is matter with its objective laws. So that was the paragraph, that was the conclusion of that whole discussion around our universe, where did it come from, and so on and so forth. We looked at many aspects of it. In fact, we want to even create a course that we can share. Anyway, oh, Sister Nancy. So I should have said thank you for showing your face. It was very helpful. Thank you so much. So anyway, continuing and the discussion. So that paragraph, I'm keeping an eye on the time. I don't want to talk too much as well, so others can also speak. So this paragraph is basically also continuing the materialist argument, and yeah, in terms of what philosophy should we as Africans embrace for our society. And this example is telling us what Thales did. And what Thales did was that he rejected idealism and replaced it with a materialist philosophy that had its basis in matter, in this case, water. But you remember that the four dialectical elements, by which I mean water or liquid, then earth or solid, fire or plasma, and air or gas. Those four things, remember, those four elements of matter are what our forefathers saw as a dialectical basis of the universe anyway. So it's not as if Thales was proposing something that was new. Thales was just saying something that he had also learned from the Africans in ancient Egypt. Yeah. So the reason Thales went for water, we will recall, was because of the Navy. So the Navy became the basis for wealth in his society where he was. Yeah, the Greeks, the city-state where he was. Remember, Greece had different city-states. And in the state that he was, including others, the Navy was the basis of wealth. So it wasn't anymore the land and agriculture, but it was the Navy. And the Navy is based on water. So from that, if you like, materialist basis, he came up with his philosophy that it is not the earth, or if you like, solid, in this case, the earth, as it is for agriculture, that is the basis for wealth. Yeah, but it's actually liquid, gas, and water. Yeah, but as I said, for Africans, all four were the basis. So that is what he's saying. And then in the middle of that paragraph, I want to just stop talking in a few 1 or 2 minutes. In the heart of that paragraph, I don't know whether you've all noticed, it's a statement that says, that is to say, on the social plane, his metaphysical principle amounted to an assertion of the fundamental equality and brotherhood of men. Now, I don't know if you realize that is what I was talking about on Saturday. I don't think some of you understood the meaning of what I was doing on Saturday when I discussed colorism. This is what this is talking about. The fundamental equality and brotherhood of men means that there should be no differentiation. There should be no, if you like, discrimination amongst men. And apologies for the term men, but Nkrumah uses it in the sense of male and female, not the male only, or men as in the sex man, but in the sense of male and female. So in that sense, you could say that Nkrumah himself was using a terminology that others used at the time, which for us now is problematic. So the argument is made that why say history, which is his story? Why not history? Her story. You know, why? Because Herodotus said history, which was Herodotus' story. That doesn't mean that was the whole story. Because if you ask a woman, she will have a different story because she's at home or on the farm, planting, looking after the household, deciding who goes to war, who doesn't go to war. In the Akan tradition, if you like, it is the woman that decides which of her children will go to war and which will not. It's not for men. Those decisions are not for men to make. That is why the woman is at the center of the family in traditional Africa rather than men in that sense. Anyway, setting that aside, so he's talking about male and female, and that is a fundamental equality and brotherhood of men and women. In other words, we are all equal, whatever the shade of our skin color. Remember that it is because of our skin color that we were bought and sold. Let's not forget that. The shipping of Africans from Africa to the Portuguese islands, to South America, and so on, was because of our skin color and the fact that being black meant, if you look back, you were strong, you were powerful, and they could not develop the lands they had stolen from the Amerindians. And as you know the story, it was a bishop that suggested that why didn't, because they took other groups and they just died. They could not withstand the weather. They could not withstand the hard work in the Americas. So he suggested, why did you go for the Africans? They are very strong. They can do the work. And so they came and stole us. And as you know, America is what it is today because of us Africans, even though they don't respect us. And they look down on us because of our skin color and so on and so forth. And they use color to discriminate amongst us. So that issue was what I was trying to address on Saturday. And we shall continue to address it. So social equality. But the problem is that just because you believe that all human beings are equal does not mean that it will lead to socialism and social equality. Why do I say so? Even amongst those groups that say that they are equal, if you take a country that I am in England, they will say we are all equal. The law in England says that all of us are equal, but there is still this discrimination, not even between different groups, but within the same group, within the same royal family, if you like. You recall that once one woman was protected from the press because she was white, the other woman, because she was black and came from America, you know who I mean, she became the target for racial discrimination. And everything that she said, because she was black, was picked upon. And yet the white woman would say the same thing, and she was left off scot-free. And so this couple decided to step back from royal duties. I'm just using that example to show you that even within the same group, there can be discrimination based on color and origin. I think I'll stop there. Otherwise, I'll just go on and on and on. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Any other any other person who want to share their thinking based on also Brother Kwame sharing his thinking? If you feel that you're triggered to share more of your thinking in regards to the two paragraphs you've shared, feel free to come in. Any person who want to either come in, share their thinking before we move to the next paragraph.
Able to speak now?
Yeah, Sister Chisomo, you are not able to speak before. Kindly proceed.
Yeah. No, just to I don't know. To me, it's when they talk about water and all that stuff. So it's about matter. It's about substance that we, let's say, humans are made from one matter and whatnot and whatnot. and then it moves on to class. I think there was a discussion about classism. So the moment you start saying why worldwide, you'd say white, black and white being superior, black being whatever you want, how you want to describe it. So that in itself is the beginning of classism and perhaps colorism. So if you're here, then it's white, and then going all everything else in between, which doesn't use color to describe them. You call them Chinese, you call them Asians, you call them, but only us and them uses color. So when you're in Africa, you then assume, because the majority are black, then black might be superior. It still doesn't work like that because of this white supremacy thing and white superiority and all that is applying in Africa, I suppose, because of the history before time. So everybody now wants to be closer to the superiority. We have seen our leaders do it again and again. They ignore us because of who we are. They want to be next to those people. They come here. Ruto goes into power. He's flying about. He's everywhere with them. He's happy to be seen with them, taking photos and everything. He lies about his background when he gets into power. That's what that, I can't remember what his name is. He's explaining. He lied to us. He says he comes from this background, that background, our background. We voted on that basis only to find, no, actually, his background and his wealth and everything else is something completely different. So he goes in allies with all these people. These people tell him what to do when he goes back. I don't know whether he went to borrow money and he didn't get it and they told him to go and take it through taxes. I don't know what the arrangement was. I was listening to Dr. Mumbi, who said whatever arrangement they had was written by those people for him to come and implement them. They were even seen in Parliament to make sure whatever they had agreed is being implemented and processed and put through. That's when they have this bill. But the people in Kenya, the young people in Kenya, finally caught up with what is going on and then tried to stop it. I think the other lady says they can mobilize all they want, but then what happens after? There's already articles coming out to say there's now a dispute of what happens after this revolution. Okay, he's backed down. He's withdrawn the bill. What now? If you want him to go, who are you putting in there? There's nobody. They haven't got anybody in mind or organized or arranged, right? Whereas the situation in Malawi, we had somebody. And I think there was a lady who spoke earlier and said, they mobilize, they understand the issues, they act on them, but there'll be somebody who will stifle the whole effort. And it all fails. And that's what happened in Malawi. It's happened in South Africa. We had Malema. Comes Zuma, stops it. Comes this other one, Ramaphosa, stops it. So back to square one. We have to start again. And then the ideology as well of democracy and socialism is also another one that just brings conflict. What is democracy in Africa? And so I don't know.
Okay. Brother Kwame?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to seek your clarification, because we are having around 12 minutes to go, but there are a few things we also discussed in the previous chapter that will either seek your, also you sharing your thinking with us in regards to the first line on the previous chapter, which was the revolution having two aspects. Yeah, the previous paragraph, which was the revolution having two aspects, and this aspect of the revolution against old order, and it's also a contest for a new order, probably.
What's the question?
Can you please share with us your thinking in regards to that sentence also?
Sister Chizomo.
Hello.
Yes, Sister Chizomo, good to see you. Sister Chizomo, in her submission, has actually answered that question with practical things on the ground.
Yes.
So what she's saying, as we know, we all listen to her. She's saying that the youth are saying that William Ruto must go. Yeah. So that is the first aspect of a revolution. That's a negative aspect. We don't want this. The positive aspect is, what will you put in its place? Because a revolution is not just to fight against something. The revolution must also be for something. And the reason I say what the youth are doing is nonsense is because all we are hearing is what they don't want. We are not hearing what they want and who will champion what they want. And if the youth, I don't understand why the youth don't have enough confidence to say they will run the country.
No, there is the same guy who is, he is very, 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 very understanding of the real issues and what must be done and how you move on from here.
In where? Is it in Malawi or Kenya?
No, in Kenya.
Yes, but
I can't remember. I think somebody posted on the group something he said.
Yes,
he is running for president himself. He says he's been trying since he was 19.
No, that must be a lie. Basically, Brother Kwame, what you are raising is very important because I think when I was having the recent interview that I was interviewed, and even the post that I shared recently, was that the biggest success of this revolution will be when we bring what we want as the next alternative. And the biggest thing is what is next as we fight in the streets, as we try to make changes, as we try maybe to move route. What next?
Brother Pigeon, I know you are going to make big
Pigeon. That's the one, Pigeon.
Big statement. But he's here, brother, Sister Chizomo.
Vote Pigeon. Vote Pigeon. I vote for Pigeon.
Is he the group?
Yes, he's
that was
the
him
one
talking. That was Pigeon just talking.
Are the youth, for example, have they organized themselves into a government in waiting, ready to take over? As far as I know, no.
I don't think they have. Yeah, you got a point there, brother.
You can't just say we don't want Ruto. You must have in place an alternative government. Because if you take government and you fail, the people will lose confidence in you. But if you let the people know that, okay, this is who we are not experienced. If you give us a chance, we'll do our best, and so on and so forth. And the people, you see, the people need to trust you. Once they trust you, they'll give you all you want. But anyway, so in Kenya, we are hearing we don't want Ruto and so on. So the what the paragraph is saying is that a revolutionary ideology is not merely negative. That is what it means. It's not just I don't want this person. I don't want that. No, it is not a mere conceptual refutation of a dying social order. So if the social order that Ruto is championing, remember that Ruto is just a member of a group that is overseeing a certain social order in Kenya. And that social order is the problem. Ruto as a person, as an individual, is not the problem. The problem is the system. I think we need to remember that because you can get rid of Ruto, get somebody else, and because they are part of the same social order,
absolutely, brother.
Come and implement the same
That's
thing.
That's what Pigeon is explaining.
I said that about an hour ago.
When they looked at Uhuru, then they looked at the other guy. What's his name?
Raila.
Yes, who seem to be in opposition. Then there's a handshake. Then comes Ruto saying I'm different, and then it turns out it's the same social
That's right.
group.
They are part of the liberal conservative intelligentsia.
Correct. There's a script
what
they are running to. There's a set narrative that
Yeah,
their
it's like-
colonial masters. There's
Yeah,
a
I-
set narrative their colonial masters have given them,
Yes.
and it doesn't
There you
matter who you put.
There you go. I don't need to talk anymore because
That's right. It doesn't matter who you put there. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
they're
Brother
running the
Colin.
script. That's their job. Otherwise, it's off with their head. That is
Brother
how it
Colin.
runs.
Yeah, out of this, we went back to this letter of Higgins, where he said that unfortunately, it happens only too often that people think they fully understood a new theory.
Malawi is a good case of that.
You see, when Nkrumah talked about tactical collaboration, people didn't understand. You know, what did Nkrumah mean by tactical collaboration? I'm talking about real politics. It's not just a matter of shouting, you want this person out, you want power, you want that. It doesn't work like that. You know. But anyway, again, let me pause because have I answered your question?
Yes, and
Because clearly there's a lot more in there that
yeah, I just wanted you again to engage further on when we had that chapter. We went back to the book of this note letter by Hegel that Nkrumah referred to the last of that chapter.
Angel.
Yes, and we angels, yes, and we tackle this part, which I want you also to share more on. When this sentence that says that Marx and I are ourselves partly to blame for the fact that the younger people sometimes lay more stress on the economic side than it's due to it.
Yes.
What's your thinking?
What's the question?
No, can you share your thinking in that? Oh, it might be straightforward.
Yeah,
what does it mean?
It means that any happening in society has a variety of causes. Yeah? It has a variety of causes. And one of those causes is economics. Yeah? When people say follow the money. But although the economic is crucial, it is not everything that you explain that you can argue that is money that caused it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah? It's not everything that you explain that you will say it is money that caused it. Yeah? So for example, you can say Ruto is bad, Ruto is this, Ruto is that. It could be that money is part of the reason why Ruto is where he is. Yeah?
Exactly.
It
That's how
doesn't
we end up in the West.
It doesn't
absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you must argue that it is the only element. Do you understand? You understand me? It could be that Ruto himself is a very, very selfish person, or Ruto himself grew up in an environment or is part of an economic group or a part of a social group. Call it the hidden government, like Brother Fukua was sharing with us. It could be that he's getting instructions from a group of which he's a member, and that group, they wear special pins and so on. They are part of a brotherhood. Do you understand what I'm saying? And all these things are part of the reason Ruto is behaving as it is. So you can't just put it down to money and say, oh, it's because Ruto loves money. That's not the only.
No. You've got to have a particular character to be in that spot. You've got to be a certain way. You've got to be a certain type of person to be in that spot and to do what it is he's doing.
And you've got to have a circle of people that you're working with to try and push this agenda. But when he came back home, he came back home to try and sell it, people didn't want it.
They weren't having it. That's right. That's
Thank
right.
you. Thank you, comrade.
I've answered your question. Second question.
Yes, you've answered my question, Brother Kwame, and we are coming to the end of the class today.
Can I add that the argument that whatever you are thinking, all of us here, the Marxist argument is that whatever we are thinking is because of our material circumstances. That is the Marxist argument in a nutshell. What this book is telling us, as we shall see, is that important though it is, the other thing that also affects our thinking or causes our thinking or makes us think differently is our ideologies, our ideological education. So the two, so Nkrumah calls it the power of ideology. So we got the force of material circumstances and the power of ideology. And that is why we are reading the book we are reading here. Because if people are so poor that they don't have the resources to change their situation, then you need to go for their mind through ideology, because that is how they can change their thinking. Because
I think that's
go.
I think that's
so
what's
anyway,
happening.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that is what I wanted to add. Thank you.
I think that's what's happening now, because they are now all saying they lied to us. You keep hearing they lied to us. They are beginning to understand that there's that ideology and they need to come up with their own belief.
Yeah, thank you, comrades. It's exactly 11 p.m. over here, which should be 9 p.m. UK, and that is the end of our class. It was actually, I would say, a very lively session where we could able to find the value of this text. Some people have been saying why we read a text that was written so many years ago, because maybe they haven't reached a level of understanding what Nkrumah thought of. The people said Nkrumah lived beyond his times, you see?
Sorry, Brother Pigeon, can I come in there?
Yes.
Why are they still drinking water? Water was created billions of years ago or billions of years ago.
They should be drinking.
Why are they still drinking water? When water was created, why are we still drinking water?
And we're still the same human beings.
Anyway, can I just make a quick comment before you bring the meeting to a final end? And that is to say that we are considering apologies to all those who want to chat in our WhatsApp group, which we've now made admins only. We are looking at that to change it. Look at the rules again, and so that we can open it up for ideological and philosophical discussions. It will still not be a news channel, but we will open it up for ideological and philosophical discussions around the news. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So what I want to say is that we do appreciate your contribution, and I think you find that there's need and value in this, what we discuss every day.
Sorry, sorry. DJ Mr. P, can you just hold on? I want to have a chat with you after everyone is gone. Is that okay?
You want me to stay on this Zoom?
Yes, please. Just
no
for,
problem, brother.
Just for 2 or 3 minutes.
No problem. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Pigeon, I also want you to stay after the meeting. Thanks.
Okay. I want to say that I do appreciate, and Brother Kwame, if you've noticed, our sisters have come strongly to this revolutionary cause, and we must actually acknowledge and appreciate that, because
revolution without sisters, I'm afraid.
Yes, and
they are our mothers, our aunties.
Yes, and I want to say that we do appreciate what you do. We do appreciate what you do, and indeed, I think we have lacked to fulfill the vision of Pan-Africanism because we have not been able to understand this basic information, which is a tool for us. This is a tool for us to execute what has been pending for a period of time. So we will actually meet this Saturday. We'll be discussing a bit to understand the Malawi situation. So, no, it is actually the healing session for Brother Coco and Mafole, but they haven't confirmed that. If they confirm, yes, we'll have that session this Saturday. If they don't, we'll go to Malawi, but we'll have Malawi. I'll confirm that once again. They don't. Be assured that I'll send you.
There's a lot of arrest in Malawi for people who speak anything about the situation, but we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll discuss this situation, and also we'll look forward to have a day where we'll review the activity that took place in Kenya and try to understand it from a philosophical angle, have a discussion about it. What were the misses? What were the advantages, so that we can actually take it as a case study to examine it in this struggle for our liberation and unification. So we thank you very much. We look forward to meet you this coming Saturday. And also next week, we will continue with our reading. And I also want to notify you that we are still moving on now with the various technical working group for Africa Liberation Day. Those various themes we discussed, the education, health, and every other angle. If you're interested to come to any of those technical working groups, either you want to look at the education, the economics, the health sector, still feel free to join us. We will be having a review meeting again come Monday, 5 p.m. UK time, so that we build on other bases. So thank you very much for that. Brother Coco?
I would like to confirm that Mr. Mafule will be presenting.
Sorry,
All
you
right.
want to confirm what? Well, I missed that.
Mafule will be presenting this Saturday.
Okay, thank you. So this Saturday will be having a presentation from Mafole. So thank you very much, comrades. And may you have a blessed or a peaceful evening.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
DJ P, can you wait,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you.